If there were a job where you could make money as easily as eating candy, but had to work with ghosts, would you dare take it? Well, this young lawyer did. His job is to defend ghost clients in court. So let's see just how brave he really is. Mu Jin is an extremely talented lawyer. With 10 years of experience in arguing, he has never lost a case. But because Mu Jin is greedy for material wealth, he was lured into investing in virtual currency, so he decided to quit being a lawyer to change careers with the aim of making a lot of money to enjoy life. Despite the efforts of his seniors in the profession to dissuade Mu Jin, he still did not change his decision. Mu Jin was determined to resign. When he just left the company, a white Rolls-Royce belonging to his best friend Jong Min was waiting there. As soon as Mu Jin got in the car, Jong Min stepped on the gas pedal, which scared him a bit. Mu Jin said that if he went this fast, both of them would die. But Jong Min was very confident in his driving ability. Unexpectedly, he actually died. At Jong Min's funeral, Mu Jin kept sobbing. Everyone thought Mu Jin was very close to Jong Min, so he cried like that. But in fact, Mu Jin had invested all his savings in virtual currency with Jong Min. That's why he cried so loudly. After Mu Jin left the funeral, manager Chon Jong approached Mu Jin and asked, is it because of investing in virtual currency that he lost all his assets? That's why he quickly quit his job. Chon Jong comforted Mu Jin, saying that as long as you went to school to become a labor lawyer, I would arrange a job for you at my company. Mu Jin was very happy to hear that. But he said that he would work for a high salary and he wouldn't work for a low salary. But Mu Jin still forced Chon Jong to give him a chance. So Mu Jin started studying hard. When he worked part-time, he also studied. In order to study effectively, he even ate knowledge. After a year of hard work, Mu Jin also received a notice of passing the labor lawyer certificate. But Mu Jin received news that Chon Jong had been fired for harassing an employee. While Mu Jin was drinking sadly, his colleague came to tease him. The colleague also said that Chon Jong had been fired for harassing a male employee. This reminded Mu Jin that Chon Jong had been intimate with him. It turned out that Chon Jong really liked boys. At this time, the colleague advised Mu Jin to open a law firm. But the problem was that Mu Jin had no money. So the colleague urged Mu Jin to borrow money. The colleague said that Mu Jin was going to wait until he was 50 and still have nothing. After the two of them left drunk, Mu Jin saw Chan Suk complaining that he didn't want to work anymore, so Mu Jin pushed him away. Mu Jin said that he was the one who wanted to cry because he didn't have a job. But Chan Suk said that Mu Jin was a licensed lawyer. Chan Suk was just a useless person. While Chan Suk was talking, he bumped into a statue and threw up. Mu Jin didn't know if he was hallucinating or not, but he apologized to the bronze statue and cleaned it. He conveniently introduced himself to the bronze statue as a labor lawyer. After saying that, he left his business card for the bronze statue. Mu Jin didn't know that from then on his life would change. After a while, Mu Jin also decided to open a labor law office. After that, Mu Jin even hired his wife's younger sister to work for him. Hyunju threatened that if Mu Jin didn't pay her salary, she would sue him. And here is the business card with her favorite slogan, "We collect your salary debt." But Mu Jin was disappointed when she read this line. This made Hyunju angry and wanted to quit her job. He criticized her for being unemployed and being pretentious. At this time, Hyunju began to tell him that she was also very busy. She worked so hard that she barely had time to breathe, and yet he still criticized her. Hyunju just wanted Mu Jin and her sister not to divorce. Only then would she be at peace. Otherwise, her sister would bother her to death. Suddenly, the phone rang. The two thought that the office had just opened and had customers. Unexpectedly, the caller was Chon Jong. Chon Jong heard that Mu Jin had just opened an office, so he asked to see how she was doing. Chon Jong explained to Mu Jin that he was considered a pervert in the company. In fact, Chon Jong just wanted to take care of them, so he acted too intimately. But Chon Jong didn't know that he was considered a pervert. In the end, Chon Jong still wanted to borrow money from Mu Jin. But Mu Jin's rent was coming up, so he didn't have any money to lend Chon Jong. Currently, Mu Jin and Hyunju were unemployed, so the first thing they did was to go around handing out business cards to find customers. But they went from place to place, but Mu Jin couldn't find a single customer. When he went to buy instant noodles, he also had to use a discount card. But that card didn't work either, so he had no choice but to starve. After a while of working hard, the only thing he could do now was post information about half-price discounts. Besides work, Mu Jin could only look at his wife and children whenever he missed them because he had mortgaged all his assets and was kicked out by his wife, so he couldn't go home. Suddenly, the next morning, Mu Jin was awakened by a loud knock on the door. He went outside to look and saw only a person on fire. After a while, he opened his eyes, and it turned out to be just a dream. The truth was that the landlord came to collect the office rent, but Mu Jin had to check his phone to see what the dream about fire meant. Fire meant good luck. It signaled that business would be very favorable. This made him happy, and he went to water the plants. But Hyunju said that those were fake trees. The real ones were all dead. She also packed up her things as if she wanted to move out. This made Mu Jin very helpless. He angrily started to collect his things and told Hyunju to sell everything she could. He shouldn't have opened the office. It was true that bad luck meant bad luck in everything she did. did. The next day, Hyunju took Moojin to meet her coworker. This guy's name was Gonwoo. He was Hyunju's coworker in making videos on the YouTube platform. In order for Gonwoo to help, Hyunju had to bribe him with an automatic coffee machine. When Moojin asked Gonwoo how many subscribers his YouTube channel had, he honestly said that it was nearly 1 million subscribers. This made Moojin a bit surprised, but the specific number was 50,000 subscribers. At this time, Moojin also changed his attitude to disdain. Hyunju said that Gonwoo was a patriotic Korean, so his channel was only about Korean love and nothing else. But the purpose of Hyunju bringing Moojin here was not to discuss this matter, but to talk about how to make the most of Moojin's labor lawyer's certificate. According to Gonwoo's analysis found on social media, there are currently very few companies in the market that can ensure labor safety, and there are currently more than 500,000 small companies in the country. This is a large source of income if they can make good use of it. But when Moojin asked what the success rate of this was and what they had to do, Gonwoo replied that the work they were about to do was to go to places that did not ensure labor safety. Moojin had to denounce the company and force them to change. That made them have to bribe money to be at peace. But the success rate was less than 1%. Seeing that, Moojin ignored the two and left. When Hyunju returned home that night, her sister asked her what she was doing all day. But Miju only asked that because she already knew her younger sister was working with Moojin. Hyunju angrily told her sister not to say that about him. Miju then started to list out that not only did he have nothing, he also robbed children of food. He didn't have any money in his wallet, but he only shook coins to receive gifts. When he ate ice cream, he even licked bird droppings. He was truly an unlucky person. After hearing that, Hyunju immediately said that Moojin was pitiful and not unlucky at all. The next day, although Moojin didn't really believe in Hyunju and Gonwoo's plan, he had no choice. Because he was so poor, he had no choice but to follow. But he didn't expect that this job would be so smooth. Just because he had knowledge of the law, the bribe envelopes kept filling up until the whole team arrived at a steel factory. The three people now wanted to redistribute the money. Moojin told him to take 60% and the other two to take 40%. But Hyunju did not agree because that division was too unfair. Moojin said that if he did not have his own knowledge, how could the whole team function? But because he felt sorry for Hyunju, Moojin also gave her 25%. Because Gonwoo had diarrhea, Moojin and Hyunju also went in first and negotiated with the manager here. While she was talking to the manager here, she found out that he was the director's son. He was also not afraid of them coming here because he thought she was swindling and appropriating property, so he threatened to call the police. But Hyunju was also a person who was not afraid of anything. She told him to try calling the police here to see who would be arrested. She followed the law, so she was not afraid of anything. Let's see who loses more money by then. At this time, Moojin entered the iron workshop and saved the foreign man. Then Moojin asked him if he was okay. Then he started to denounce the lack of strict management here. Therefore, many accidents were recorded here. As soon as he finished speaking, a hook behind him hit a pile of steel and fell down. The unexpected situation made him unable to dodge. Moojin's mind at that time remembered his family. The scene from when he was a child until he grew up suddenly appeared. Everyone asked where Moojin was, but everyone thought he was dead. They just thought he was not talented at all. Moojin did not understand what was happening. He said he was not dead yet, but everyone said he was about to die. They said what was the point of living if he was always selfish. Suddenly, a person burning outside the door attracted Moojin's attention. When he opened the door, what appeared in front of him was a young man talking to him. The man asked why he was standing there silently. Moojin wondered why the man was addressing him so disrespectfully. The man said, "I was old enough to address you that way." The man said that he saw that Moojin wanted to live, so he came to help. There were countless souls who worked hard but died unjustly. When they died, they still wandered the world, but the man was too busy to take care of them. This was the reason why Moojin appeared in this space. Moojin was forced by the man in front of him to sign a labor contract. Moojin's job was to help the souls rest in peace and be liberated. It was a noble profession that served the workers. That profession was the labor lawyer that Moojin was working for. After speaking, the man handed Moojin the contract and forced him to sign. If Moojin agrees to sign, he will continue to live, otherwise he will die. Although Moojin was a bit hesitant, he reluctantly signed the contract to live. This fate came from the night Moojin went drinking. Moojin left his business card on the statue of the god of death. That's why Moojin was saved. As a result, Moojin was not crushed to death by the steel piles, but he still lived strangely. But he was so scared that he peed his pants. When getting in the car, Hyunju immediately blamed Moojin that she almost succeeded in earning a large sum of money, but he ruined it all. Only then did Moojin calm down. Moojin told the two that he had met a man at that time, but at this moment, Moojin was startled when he saw someone sitting next to him. Moojin's reaction also startled the other two. Moojin thought he was hallucinating, so he went to get psychological therapy, but wherever Moojin went, he saw the shadow of that man following him. When Moojin Moojin returned to the office, he saw that only Hunju was left in the room. Moojin immediately asked where Gonwoo was. When Gonwoo just walked out, Moojin also breathed a sigh of relief. Moojin thought that there was no ghost in the room, but the ghost was sitting next to Hunju. This made Moojin panic and scream. So Gonwoo immediately thought of the title, Labor Lawyer Has the Ability to See Ghosts. If this article was posted on social media, many people would be interested. However, the two people believed what Moojin said. Hunju said that if Moojin could really see ghosts, then those ghosts definitely needed his help. So the two people immediately recorded a video. Unexpectedly, Moojin really saw a ghost. Moojin started asking the spirit, and he replied that he was Lee Minuk. He was a high school student who had just graduated. To reassure his mother, he lied that he found a job, but he didn't say that he worked at a steel mill. The manager there took him to the workers' quarters. This place was like a warehouse. There, Minusi lived with a foreigner named Nemo that Moojin had saved. During that time, when he started his apprenticeship, he was forced to clean the machine while it was still running, because if the machine stopped working, the work progress would be slow. At that time, Minuk didn't want his mother to worry, so he often texted that the food here was delicious. There was also a gym here, so he hoped his mother wouldn't worry. Before the story got to the part about why he died, Moojin was slapped by Gonwoo to regain consciousness. After that, Gonwoo and Hunju showed Moojin the video of him standing frozen like a statue. Moojin then realized that he was possessed by a ghost. He told the story to the two people, but no one believed him. They said they had only heard it, but never seen it. Out of curiosity, the whole team decided to get in the car and go to that steel factory. Moojin said that Minuk had been following them since then, so now they had to find out some information about this place. Gonwoo seemed a bit silly, but he had a friend who was a journalist at a big company. Hyunju said that his friend had studied at university and worked as a reporter. At this time, Gonwoo also brought his friend Jung Jin along and introduced Moojin as a lawyer, but Hyunju said that she was his girlfriend. It was like she wanted to mark her territory with him. Jung Jin said that the factory didn't want to mention this incident because it was quite haunting. At that time, Minuk's accident happened outside of work hours, but Hyunju wondered if this looked more like it was force. Jung Jin said that this case had been settled between the victim's family and the factory, so she couldn't know much about the investigation. They were talking, and Gonwoo kept smiling at Jung Jin. This made Hunju a little jealous, so she got angry and left. Gonwoo immediately ran out to stop her and said that she had just admitted that she was his girlfriend, so today would be their first date. But she still got angry and left. Moojin saw this and could only encourage Gonwoo. After that, the whole team continued to ask for information at Minusik's school, but the teacher who taught him didn't remember anything. Suddenly, Gonwoo ran in and said that he had contacted Minusi's mother, so the whole team immediately went to Minuk's house. Minuk's mother began to tell him about his situation. Since Minusi was a child, his father died in an accident, but he was very close to his father. After Minuk's death, his mother always blamed herself for not being able to protect her son. Minuk sat on one side and couldn't help but be moved when he heard his mother's words. Her current dream was to reunite with her husband and son as soon as possible, and of course she didn't want to mention anything more about this case, because she couldn't do anything for her son. Gonwoo also burst into tears on the other side and said that if Minuk's mother cooperated with them, not only would her son be given justice, but many other people who died unjustly could also go to peace. Thanks to Gonwoo's tears, Minusik's mother agreed to cooperate with them, but they couldn't find any evidence from the pile of documents they collected. The factory even proactively sent the documents to the victim's family, so the whole team didn't know how to handle this case. Suddenly, the file recorded that it was almost 12 o'clock on the night before the Mid-Autumn Festival. Moojin realized that the factory made a male student work through the holidays and didn't let him go home. There was also a photo of him and Nemo in it. It was possible that this male student could also be of some help to the team. But first, Gonwoo would pretend to be a male student and apply for a job as a worker. The first thing he had to do was buy a work uniform. Before the interview, Gonwoo carefully installed the recording equipment on his phone. During the interview, the director said that he wouldn't raise Gonwoo's salary because he already had experience. The director also forced Gonwoo to try out right away without signing any contract. Gonwoo's current identity is Kim Gu-jin. The factory manager took Gonwoo on a tour of the surrounding machines without any safety training. As for the foreign guy Nemo, the manager honestly said that although Nemo didn't understand Korean, he worked very hard. Not only that, the amount of money they spent hiring him was very little. The factory had hired several interns before. Something happened and they stopped accepting interns. The whole team immediately knew that they had all had work-related accidents. After he finished speaking, he asked Nemo to teach Gonwoo. Nemo understood Korean very well. It was just that Nemo didn't want to tell the manager. Nemo said that he had been taught by a good teacher. Meanwhile, the director was watching a patriotic program, and he saw that the person on the program looked like someone who had just come to work at the factory. He thought that this must not not be a coincidence. On this side, Nemo looked at Ganwu and immediately knew that Ganwu was filming everything here. Knowing that he had been exposed, Ganwu also admitted that he was here to help everyone. He would expose the dangerous working conditions here. He did this to punish those who took advantage of other people's labor. But Nemo didn't want Ganwu to be like that, because if they were discovered, he would be deported from Korea. The two were so engrossed in their conversation that the manager noticed. He reminded them to get to work, but Ganwu still didn't give up and had to convince Nemo to the end. During break time, Ganwu gave him the notebook that Minuk used to write a diary about Nemo. In it, Minuk also wrote a plan to make money and visit his family with Nemo. Ganwu said that Minuk must really like Nemo, but because they didn't have much time off, the two quickly had to get to work. But Ganwu didn't expect that the factory owner would also be here today. He quickly suspected that Ganwu wasn't from here, so he asked Ganwu how you got here. Ganwu replied that he came here by bus, but there was no bus stop around here, so everyone immediately suspected that Ganwu was the spy here. A worker came and told Ganwu that he was the bad guy. He was the one who saw Ganwu going to the bathroom in the garden the day before. So Ganwu was quickly surrounded by workers, but they couldn't catch him because he was a professional ballerina. He danced back and forth, causing the workers to fall over each other. Suddenly, someone drove a car. This forced Ganwu to grab onto the crane rope and jump onto the roof of the forklift, but Ganwu quickly fell off the roof. Mujin and Hyunju outside saw that the situation was not good, so they quickly drove in to pick up Ganwu. But when the three of them just got to the gate, the police showed up and blocked their way. The director saw this and immediately accused Ganwu. Hyunju explained that they were making content exposing crimes through videos. It was the people here who caused a male student to die because he had to work without a holiday. The director said that he had already negotiated with the victim's family, so Hyunju had no evidence to convict him. When she was about to take out the evidence, Ganwu's phone was hit so hard that it couldn't turn on. Now the three of them had no evidence to prove it, so they were suspected of breaking in illegally. Suddenly, Nemo appeared and denounced the director. Nemo took out his phone and recorded a video of the accident on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. At that time, Minuk and Nemo were studying Korean together, and Nemo recorded the video. At that time, the steel press was stuck, so the manager told Minuk to go fix it because they couldn't let the work be delayed. The accident happened quickly, causing everyone to panic. They quickly arrived to rescue Minna, but the chairman told the director to let this go and let Minuk die. Moreover, the person trapped inside wouldn't survive. The director had to make sure the workers didn't tell the truth. Meanwhile, Nemo pleaded for his friend, but was not accepted. So Nemo took advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention to him to record the video of Minuk being crushed to death in that steel crusher. Nemo told the police that his friend could have lived. Minuk would have lived if the director hadn't stopped people from saving him. Mujin began to show his talent as a lawyer. Mujin accused the factory director of violating the standard internship agreement by forcing workers to work overtime, covering up the scene, and falsifying records. In the records, he said the accident happened at 11:50 p.m., but in the video, it was actually 12:05 a.m. October. That was when the law protecting minors was implemented nationwide. Logically, the director should have been sentenced to 7 years in prison, and he would have to pay compensation of 100 million won. The chairman said that the sentence was too harsh. Mujin replied that the sentence was a bit low because the director also falsified records for the victim's family. This crime would result in an additional year in prison and a fine of 10 million won. This made the director extremely panicked. He was so angry that he was about to punch Mujin, but Hyunju took Ganwu's face and took punch. Now they had another reason to sue. Ganwu was stunned. He still couldn't believe that he was being used like this. In the end, this case was quickly reported in the press. Nemo bravely stood up to testify in defense of his friend. The next day, the whole team brought the video that Nemo sent to Minuk's mother to watch. She was very touched that her son was also cleared. Finally, Minuk could rest in peace. After returning, Mujin didn't forget to do the gesture that Minuk often did. That made her unable to help but come and hug him. Mujin's first mission was a success. The whole team couldn't help but be happy that their first mission had been completed. Unexpectedly, while they were on the road, power lines suddenly cut. This was like an omen coming to Mujin's team. After Mujin was pulled to his world by the Grim Reaper, Mujin wondered and asked why I was here after I had successfully saved people. The Grim Reaper said that the contract clearly stated that it was to save many people, not that Mujin would be done after completing one case. Moreover, Mujin had to work 24 hours a day or he would die. Mujin wondered why there were no such terms in the first place, not to mention that he had not read the document carefully. Even though he knew that, Mujin had no choice. Mujin had to become a slave to the Grim Reaper or he would die. But Miju had not returned to Mujin yet, so he could not give up so easily. So Mujin cursed and reported the Grim Reaper to the Ministry of Labor. Then, he woke up. After waking up, the doctor said that Mujin's mental state was currently very stable. It's just that he often has nightmares and talks nonsense. Mujin said that he saw the Grim Reaper. Hyunju wondered what the Grim Reaper looked like, but when she looked around the treatment room, she saw only people with disabilities. Mujin must have gone to a mental hospital the next day. When Mujin got in the car to leave the hospital, Mujin panicked and said that he saw a ghost, but it was just a patient. Maybe he was already haunted, so he went to take a mud bath to relax his mind. Meanwhile, Ganwoo received a text message from his friend. This made Hyunju curious and jealous, asking if it was his friend from college. Ganwoo asked her if she was jealous. He asked her if she wanted to date him, but she pretended and said she didn't want to date him. At that moment, Hyunju's older sister also passed by. Ganwoo politely greeted her and happily talked to her. Miju saw that the shirt her younger sister was wearing was hers, so she got angry and wanted Hyunju to take it off right in the middle of the street. Luckily, Ganwoo stopped them in time, or else the two would have fought. Mujin had just woken up from a beautiful dream, but he saw a woman with a bloody face sitting next to him and then disappearing. He thought he was hallucinating and started to feel scared. He thought he must have been hallucinating because he worked too much. When he got home, Mujin was still worried because he was afraid that a ghost was following him. Mujin quickly ran into his office and turned on all the lights. When Mujin was breathing a sigh of relief, a nurse sat in his place. He panicked and asked her if she had anything to say, but the nurse just showed him a card and said she was Cho Eun-jung. Then she immediately possessed Mujin. The next day, when Hyunju came to the office, she only saw Mujin standing there looking in the mirror. He turned around and said he was going to take revenge. This sentence made Hyunju panic. She thought he was sick, so she followed him to the hospital. Mujin seemed to have difficulty breathing and started to worry and faint. Until Dr. Kanho came to examine Mujin. He grabbed Dr. Kanho's collar and asked why you were still working here. Hyunju thought Mujin was not well, so she just forced him to rest. She told him not to cause any more trouble. A moment later, Ganwoo also appeared. Hyunju quickly told him everything that had just happened to him, but just as they turned away for a few minutes, Mujin had disappeared. Meanwhile, Kanho was returning to work when he was slapped by Mujin. Kanho was about to call security when he heard the words he had cursed at a nurse in the hospital. Then Mujin rushed up and punched Kangho a few times. Because he was considered to be causing trouble, Mujin was also kicked out of the hospital. Only then did Mujin regain consciousness. Mujin asked what he had done earlier. Only then did Hyunju recount everything. From the incident where Mujin lost control and grabbed the doctor by the neck, he then beat the doctor. While Mujin was still not understanding what was happening, he saw a nurse's body lying on the ground. She looked straight into his eyes. This was the nurse who had possessed him. On Kanho's side, he was extremely scared. He didn't know if what he saw was an illusion or not. Meanwhile, Hyunju kept asking for this month's salary to quit her job. Then Mujin told him that in that hospital, there was a nurse named Eun-jung who was severely abused. After Hyunju heard, she felt scared because she didn't want to get involved in spiritual things. However, she still asked Mujin how to help Eun-jung. Ganwoo also investigated information about this case. On the 29th, at the hospital there, a nurse did something stupid with the reason for breaking up with her boyfriend. Mujin felt that something was being hidden in this matter. Now, every time Mujin talked nonsense, the other two would understand that he was possessed. Ganwoo said that they should think carefully about this matter. They should not act rationally. So Ganwoo took Mujin and Hyunju to see a fortune teller. They wanted to see if there was a ghost possessing Mujin. When the fortune teller saw Mujin, she knelt down in fear. She said that the person following him was someone she could never fight against, because that was a general who helped Mujin live in this world. He was of the water element but had been evaporated by the fire element. If the guardian behind Mujin disappeared, he would definitely die. Hearing that, Ganwoo asked about his love life. She said it was best for him to talk less and he would have a lover. Then everyone was about to leave when the fortune teller said that Mujin looked like he was easily possessed. The solution was her amulets. Ganwoo felt that he was even worse than a shaman, but he still bought the amulet because he was a bit scared of the story. After that, the three of them even went to see a priest to confess their sins and ask for holy water. They wanted to use it to splash Mujin directly, but there was no such thing here. So the three of them continued to go to the temple to pray to Buddha, but they prayed all day and only felt tired and sweaty, and no one could help Mujin. Mujin wanted to be careful of being possessed, so he also bought some prayer bracelets to bring with him. When he was sitting in front of the convenience store, he was chased away by the staff there. This person told Mujin that if you kept sitting there, I would be punished. So Mujin had to buy food to eat at the office. But before Mujin could finish eating the sausage, the nurse Eun-jung appeared and wanted to possess him. Suddenly, the Grim Reaper appeared next to them and allowed her to do so. Mujin then continued to fall into her memories. That year when Eun-jung was a new nurse at the hospital, she was always bullied by Nurse So-young, even though she had worked overtime all week. Because of too much pressure, when Eun-jung examined a patient, she accidentally called the patient ma'am. This made the patient unhappy, so she scolded Eun-jung. When Eun-jung took the opportunity to text her lover, she was also forced to go to work. One day, Eunjong even arrived 30 minutes early, but she was still bullied by So-young. So-young kept scolding Eunjong, but she could only endure it. Meanwhile, Hyunju and Gonwoo were walking together. They were curious about what Moojin was doing now. They checked the camera and saw him lying on the chair. They thought he was sleeping, but Moojin was currently experiencing Eunjong's feelings. Although Moojin tried to resist, the Grim Reaper told him to watch the whole memory so he would know what Eunjong had to endure. Hearing that, Moojin decided to close his eyes and watch again. At this time, in front of Moojin was Dr. Kang Ho. At that time, Eunjong was in charge of a patient and following Kang Ho's instructions. She tried to advise him on what to prescribe, but he only told her to listen. Because Eunjong had been working overtime all week and was so tired, she also confided in her senior that she felt like she wanted to die from this pressure. But her senior said that if she hadn't worked for a year, it would be difficult for her to find a job elsewhere. So she tried to stay here and work for a while longer. But when she wrote her complaint to her superiors, she was scolded by So-young. So-young questioned Eunjong because she wasn't the only one who was upset because of having to work early and not getting enough sleep. But at this moment, there was an urgent emergency, so everyone had to quickly gather. It was the patient that Kang Ho told Eunjong to follow his instructions. Because of this, she was blamed by the patient's wife. Kang Ho also put all the responsibility on Eunjong. This made her more and more helpless. The head of the department wanted to hide this matter, so he advised Kang Ho to come up with a plan to prevent everyone from telling the truth. And Eunjong also heard this. Because she was so helpless, Eunjong died unjustly. Unexpectedly, when Eunjong jumped, Moojin also enjoyed this feeling of free fall. Moojin angrily asked why he had to experience it. At this time, the Grim Reaper said that if Moojin was not possessed, how could he understand Eunjong's feelings? Since that day, Moojin's entire office has been covered with amulets. Hyunju was not a superstitious person, but now she follows both Buddhism and Christianity. Moojin tried to calmly tell the two to remove all the charms, but he secretly opened his phone to chant online. In order to solve Eunjong's case, Moojin had Hyunju and Gonwoo analyze each incident one by one. In order to clarify the truth, the group would have to find evidence, and they had to prove that Eunjong died while mentally unstable. Now what they needed to do was find the patient's family. Moojin didn't expect Hyunju to have found the victim's younger brother a long time ago. She also found Eunjong's friend, Sejong. When Hyunju returned home that night, Miju advised her that if she wasn't serious about her relationship, she shouldn't hang out with Gonwoo anymore. She shouldn't give him hope. Even though Hyunju said she didn't like Gonwoo, she felt jealous every time someone of the opposite sex texted him. The next day, Moojin went to Eunjong's house. He found out that she always told her parents that everything was fine at the hospital, but she actually said that so that they wouldn't worry. After Eunjong's parents heard about her death, they only knew that she did it because she broke up with her boyfriend. So Eunjong's family didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, at the hospital, two nurses went to see the head nurse and said that someone from the labor office came to see them. They were from the labor law office. They took over Eunjong's case, but she didn't care about it at all. She just ignored it and continued working. At night, Kang Ho and So-young were in a panic. They didn't understand why someone was investigating the case. Kang Ho had to control the situation and the other nurses. He couldn't let the secret get out. He even blamed So-young for bullying Eunjong. So someone was continuing to investigate the case. He forced her to do everything possible to keep people from knowing the truth. This also made her extremely tired. The next day, Moojin and Hyunju went to the law office that had been in charge of this case to look for clues. He said that he had investigated the case before, but there was no evidence at all, so he had already closed the case. The lawyer knew that Moojin had just opened the office, so he disdainfully told Moojin to give it a try. When the two went to see the police inspector, they only found out that Eunjong had a boyfriend and that they lived very happily. But this case had no signs of a crime, so the police were helpless at that time. The police said that there was a rumor that Eunjong died because she broke up with her boyfriend. This reason sounded the most reasonable, but the truth that Moojin saw was not like that. After that, the two of them went to the convenience store to buy water. Moojin discovered that Junjae worked there every day without a day off. So Moojin introduced himself as a new lawyer who had just received a badge worth 1.4 million won. Hyunju said that it wasn't gold, so why were you showing off? Moojin ignored her and turned to Junjae and said, if you need anything, just call me. At this time, Gonwoo also planned to use the media to let more people know about this case because the hospital had hidden the truth. Suddenly, Moojin remembered that Eunjong had once filed a complaint and it fell under the cabinet. Now the whole team had a reason to look for clues at the hospital, so Gonwoo had to disguise himself as a handsome doctor. Wherever he went, he attracted the attention of women. This made Hyunju jealous. She told him to focus on his work, so Gonwoo went to check out every place in the hospital. Moojin saw him passing by So-young. Moojin told him to stay here and see what happened. So-young was just like Eunjong that year. She was constantly scolded scolded and criticized by the head nurse for not being able to do her job. Even if she worked overtime, she was still blamed. Suddenly, another nurse asked Gonwoo if he was the new intern. Seeing that, Moojin told Gonwoo to ask where the equipment room was. After knowing the location, Gonwoo went there to get the complaint form. Now everyone in the hospital was gossiping about a new handsome doctor. Sejong found it strange, so she asked what happened. The female nurse then confessed that there was a new male intern, but Sejong remembered that the new intern was a woman, not a man. Meanwhile, Moojin wanted to distract everyone in the hospital so that Gonwoo could escape. Moojin deliberately walked across the lobby so that the security guards could chase him. After this incident, the nurses knew about the hospital's bullying and oppression, so they spoke up to protect the rights of the workers. Among them were Sejong and the nurse who bullied Eunjong. The hospital forced everyone to sign a commitment when Eunjong died. They were only allowed to report to the police that Eunjong was heartbroken after breaking up with her boyfriend, which was why she fell into an extreme state. If the truth was exposed, everyone would be seen as a bully. The hospital's reputation would be ruined. During the live broadcast, Gonwoo asked about another hidden event, which was the fault of a doctor named Kang Ho. Kang Ho ordered Eunjong to do as he wanted, but in the end, he blamed her for everything. After the live broadcast, person claiming to be Eunjong's ex-lover texted Gonwoo. He called everyone out to provide more evidence that Eunjong was forced to work too hard. She didn't even have time to eat. He also mentioned that at that time, Eunjong wanted to quit her job a long time ago, but she was threatened that she wouldn't be able to enter the industry anymore. So she tried to work so hard that she almost became depressed. He felt regretful for not being able to understand her. At that time, he couldn't do anything to save her. Moojin immediately stood up, went behind him, hugged him, and comforted him. This scene surprised everyone. When leaving, Hinju dared to ask if the person who hugged him was Eunjong or Moojin. It must have been Eunjong, because her brother couldn't like boys. At this time, So-young also remembered the complaint she had destroyed. It was still in the hospital, so she quickly found it and sent it to Moojin's office. Now he had more evidence. The group started live streaming on YouTube to attract the media. They would expose the truth about the hospital's hypocrisy. The victims' family members would be present. They would also promote Moojin's law firm. After receiving the news, the prosecution also sent someone to the hospital to collect all the documents. This made Kang Ho extremely worried, so he had to see a psychologist for treatment. Kang Ho said that he had been seeing a shadow recently. Hearing that, the doctor told Kang Ho to focus on psychological treatment. News about Gonwoo's YouTube channel also became famous for exposing the truth. He also confidently stood up in front of the crowd and called on everyone to subscribe to his channel. After this incident, everyone came to visit Eunjong. So-young also came here to pay her respects. After being cleared, Eunjong forgave So-young because she was also a victim, so Eunjong sympathized with her. Finally, Eunjong could rest assured and go to heaven. After solving Eunjong's case, Moojin thought he would get some rest, but he was summoned by the Grim Reaper in an unexpected way. After Moojin was summoned to the third world by being hit by a bus, he wondered why he always saved people, but the Grim Reaper kept letting him die. The Grim Reaper said, "I saved you." The bus driver was forced to work too much. He should have been given a 15-minute break after driving for 2 hours. In other words, what killed Moojin was the capitalist system that didn't allow drivers to take a 15-minute break. Moojin complained that if the Grim Reaper wanted to punish him, the Grim Reaper should have told him the reason. Why does the Grim Reaper keep letting Moojin experience death over and over again? But the Grim Reaper just told Moojin to think a little. Then he brought Moojin back to the present. At this time, Hyunju and Gonwoo panicked and ran to ask Moojin if he was okay. The driver was only careless for a few seconds, but Moojin didn't blame him. What was to blame was this working system. When they got to the office, Moojin told the two that they needed to change the working system, so Moojin would have to become congressman. Gonwoo heard that and immediately filmed this documentary because who knows, maybe Moojin would really become a congressman in the future. But Hyunju criticized him, saying that if Moojin became a congressman, this country of Korea would collapse. Suddenly, Moojin received a phone call. It turned out to be his mother calling, so Moojin also went home that evening. Moojin's older brother Seon-kyu told Moojin that their mother had been acting a bit strange lately. While the two were talking, a small dog came to see Moojin. Seon-kyu said that their mother brought it back. He had just left when his mother returned. He saw the dog running towards the door towards an old woman. Moojin greeted her, but his mother asked who he was greeting. Only then did he realize that this woman was the next spirit he had to help. Unexpectedly, this person was an acquaintance of his mother. Moojin asked her at night, but this woman could not say a word. This made Moojin not know how to help. This woman wanted to reveal something, but she could not say anything. Suddenly, Moojin's mother opened the door, startling him. He screamed as if he had seen a ghost. His mother thought that his wife had left him and he was mentally ill. During the meal, Moojin asked his mother if anyone had died recently. At this time, she told him about a poor friend of hers. Moojin's mother's friend was named Jong Suk. Jong Suk used to be a colleague in the owner owner of that little dog. Moojin's mother and Mrs. Jong-suk were also close friends. They had known each other and worked together for 10 years. His mother continued that because of a heart attack, Jong-suk did not go to work that day. She called her friend, but no one answered. It was Moojin's mother who discovered Jong-suk's body, and now she is still haunted by that incident. The next day, Moojin wanted to investigate where his mother and Jong-suk worked, so he asked his father. Then he knew that every 3 months his mother put on makeup. When his father asked where she went, she just stammered and lied. Moojin followed her and discovered that she seemed to be having an affair with another man. But when he continued to follow her, he saw that she went to a multi-level marketing company, and the managers there were very strict about her appearance. Moojin took advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention to sneak into the room where his mother was sitting. The people here were taking an exam test for the elderly. Moojin took advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention to turn on the recording and started to monitor the actions of the people speaking. He called this place the Hall of Wisdom. This place only needed wise people to pass the exam to continue working. When the exam started, there would be a question every minute. Each question was very difficult for middle-aged people like Moojin's mother. Moojin looked around and saw that everyone's faces were extremely worried. But the supervisor Jung Han forced the elderly here to be good at English and Chinese. Anyone who couldn't answer would be eliminated. This made Moojin's mother's friend feel hard to breathe. Moojin went out and coincidentally heard from the supervisors, who only knew how to bully the elderly, that this company was trying to cut staff in the most indirect way, which was by taking exams. After Moojin knew the truth about the company where his mother worked, he took his mother to a coffee shop. He was trying to help his mother relieve stress after a tiring exam. After a while, he mustered up the courage to ask why his mother didn't mention this kind of test at the company to him. But she felt very embarrassed to talk about this issue. She didn't want her son or family to know that she was like this. Moojin asked his mother if she felt anything. He saw that she was a little out of breath and under pressure. Moojin was sure that Jong-suk must have felt the same pressure. Jung-han had bullied Jong-suk before. Even for the job of a janitor, she had to take these stupid tests. On top of that, she had to beg and kneel down to him just to keep her job. Because Jong-suk was being pressured too much at work, she kept having heart attacks. In order for everyone to help each other keep their jobs, Jong-gon gathered everyone together. They reviewed the knowledge that would be on the test together. This also helped everyone work with peace of mind. But after a while, Moojin's mother didn't see Jong-suk anywhere, so she went to where Jong-suk was. When she got there, Moojin's mother discovered that Jong-suk had died right on the table because she had studied too much. Moojin told his mother that he had to try anyway to get justice for everyone here. Moojin then returned to his law office and told Hyunju and Gon-woo that the university was forcing the janitors to take the test. Those who failed would be fired. Hyunju wondered why they didn't just fire the employee instead of doing that. Moojin just said that there was a company that also fired workers like that. As a result, they were sued for violating the labor contract, and the head of the company spoke up to help other workers get justice. That person is now a congressman. But since a new law was enacted for workers over 50 years old, this university has used the method of creating exams to fire workers. This made them unable to bear it and had to withdraw. So Hyunju and Gon-woo got to know some managers in this university. That night, Moojin went to the convenience store he often visited, and Junjae gave him a can of beer. Junjae thanked Moojin for helping Junjae escape from a drunkard last time. Junjae took the opportunity to tell Moojin that he had found a new job. Today was Junjae's last day working here. Moojin asked Junjae if he wanted to go eat somewhere. Moojin told Junjae that Junjae should go eat chicken at the Hanjang River, so Junjae told Moojin to remember to treat him. The next day, Moojin's team wanted to find evidence that this university mistreated its workers. Moojin and his 2 teammates began interviewing each janitor. They wanted to find out if this place forced workers to work excessively and how much the meal allowance was, and if they forced workers to do anything. After collecting information, the 3 of them went back to discuss it. Hyunju thought that if taking this test wasn't against the law, then not taking the test certainly wasn't against the law. That wasn't a reason to fire the workers either. So Moojin asked Hyunju to call Jong-gon back. Hyunju said that Moojin wanted to treat everyone to a meal of black bean noodles. After everyone was at the black bean noodle shop, Moojin stood in front of everyone and started talking about why everyone was doing that ridiculous test. Jong-suk had died at home because of overstudying. Everyone knew that the reason was this test. Moojin thought this would work, but some people here wanted to stay put because they didn't want to be fired. They knew what Moojin was trying to do. They didn't want to join the protest. Some people were proud of this job because it allowed her to support her family, so she didn't want to lose her job either. Eunja saw everyone interrupting her son, so she couldn't help but tell everyone to be quiet. She knew that no one wanted to lose their jobs, even if those people littered everywhere. But the managers didn't respect janitors like them. They were fired for failing the test, but they still did it. In the end, everyone was fired the same way. Eunja said that a friend who used to clean toilets with her also died because of this. Moojin saw the opportunity and continued to convince everyone. He said that this school used the test to justify firing employees. Not only that, they also tested on holidays. According to the law, this is like overtime, so everyone should be paid. Not only that, they should be paid 1.5 times. What Moojin just said made everyone angry because they had not been paid all these days and were worried about being fired. In the end, Moojin succeeded in making them want to reclaim their rights at this university. At this time, the school administrators were panicking because Moojin brought the janitors to the school to protest. Gonwoo was in charge of filming the video to post on YouTube. Jungha walked out and was yelled at by Moojin. Moojin said he was just demanding justice for the workers. Hyunju said he used the test to chase everyone away, which showed that the prestigious university was behaving badly. When everyone was protesting more intensely, the police suddenly came from nowhere to arrest Moojin because he had violated the law on assembly and protest. But Moojin was not worried. He said that everyone had freedom of speech, so everyone should continue protesting. After Moojin was taken to the police station, he and the police argued about the protest. Moojin was accused of disturbing public order. The police told Moojin that since he was a lawyer who understood the law, he should stop arguing. Hyunju was upset because of this. What made her even angrier was that her sister didn't care about Moojin at all. Moojin had been taken to the police station, but Miju was still calm. They had only been divorced for a while. How could she be so heartless? Miju heard her older sister say that and felt a bit heartless. So the next day, she went to the police station to bail him out. When the two of them went to lunch together, Moojin ate a big bite and grimaced because the food was hot. Moojin's expression was exactly like when he and Miju were dating. Just thinking about this scene made her feel disgusted. When he heard her say it was hot, he immediately went to buy an ice cream. At this time, Miju asked about the message Moojin sent the day before. Moojin remembered that the day before, he was about to send her the name of a restaurant when the driver had an argument with someone. This made him not pay attention and only send the word thank you. At that time, he didn't know how to explain, so he said he was thanking her for the things she had helped him with. Even though the two were divorced, they still looked at each other affectionately. Miju also heard that Moojin was arrested for protesting, but she thought it wasn't serious enough to warrant arrest. Suddenly, Moojin turned to Miju and told her to go home with him. What he did wrong in the past wasn't enough to make her leave. If Miju kept staying at Hyunju's house, she would be under a lot of pressure. Moojin also reminded Miju to send him photos from time to time. After the protest, the school sent people to disrupt and chase everyone out of the break room. Moojin said that if everyone wanted to strike, they would first have to form a union to negotiate with the university. Hearing that, Jangon told Moojin to form a union. If things stopped here, the janitors would be treated even worse. So everyone started to compete to collect information from each janitor. They just needed to write an application to join a union. Then they would write the name of the person they wanted to be the head of the union. The janitors union was finally formed, and the person trusted and elected by everyone was Jangon. He called on everyone to work together to defeat this coup. So the union started negotiations. They made 3 demands to Hanwook University. The first demand was to cancel the unfair test. The second demand was to reinstate Miss Mong-sung. The third demand was to recognize Miss Jong-suk's death as a result of work pressure. But even though the janitors had formed a union committee, the Hanwook University representative was still able to argue back. Junghan said that the test was only to raise awareness. If these illegal acts continued, the school would have to reconsider the contract renewal for everyone here. Regardless of what the school wanted to do, Jangon continued to hold the union meeting. He informed everyone that 80% of the janitors here supported the strike, so he also declared that he had to go and demand justice for the oppressed workers. A sign with the words, "We won't stop until Hanwook University gives justice," was also hung up. People started chanting slogans. They wanted to demand rights and reinstatement for those who were unjustly fired. The protest continued for several days. Moojin, worried about his mother, also went to visit her. He told his mother to go home and rest, but the protest couldn't be left without her. There was no one to clean up the trash at the school, so the janitors were quickly summoned to the office to work. The whole team continued to chant victory slogans, but the people waiting for them in the office were the students. Junghan said that today was an exchange between the students and the janitors. Junghan saw Gonwoo filming, so he reminded him that it would be better if Go-woo sent the documents to the school about today. Just by looking at it, you can tell that the students are being forced to participate in this confrontation. The students say that this strike is affecting their studies. If the janitors don't call off the strike, the students will file a lawsuit with the police. Moojin curiously asks why the janitors who are victims are considered troublemakers. The students say that they only care about their studies. They only care about who is affecting their studies, not the source of the problem. Hunju angrily says that if the students treat the janitors like this today, today, they will suffer the same fate in the future. But the students still look down on the janitors because they think they are lawyers and not janitors. Because these students refused to cooperate, protesting janitors began to lose confidence. Mu-jin also thought that they should withdraw to prepare better, but his mother did not agree. If everyone was going to protest, they had to do it to the end, because after this time, they might not have another chance to demand their rights. It was doubtful that the school would let this matter go. Everyone agreed with this idea. They were determined to let those people know the power of unity. So Mu-jin immediately thought of writing a letter to share their personal suffering. Then they would hang it on the school wall. When he was wondering if anyone would volunteer, Jong-suk raised his hand. Only then did she speak up and say that she would share her story. She was a janitor born into a poor farming family. She grew up without her parents. Besides, she did not have the opportunity to go to college. Jong-suk had to do many jobs such as collecting tickets and working as a garment worker. She had done all the hard jobs. Even though Jong-suk had been cleaning here for 20 years, she felt extremely proud and happy because the students had a clean environment to study. Then she started talking about how the janitors had to take tests that had nothing to do with cleaning. This made her feel extremely scared. She could have scrubbed the toilets many times so that the students could study in a clean environment, but she didn't want to take those tests at all. Jong-suk hoped that the students could understand what the janitors were going through. When everyone read her letter, it was as if Jong-suk was really there. At mealtimes, Jong-suk thanked Mu-jin, and she said that his mother was very proud of him. Jong-suk always talked about what a wonderful person Mu-jin was. However, not long after, Hyunju and Gonwoo called Mu-jin. They said that the students at this school were not sympathetic, but blamed the janitors just because they were on strike and the trash was piled up and not cleaned up. The janitors knew at a glance that the school forced the students to do that. Everyone started to get discouraged and almost all left, leaving only Mu-jin's mother and 3 others. Suddenly, 3 students passed by to buy some supplies. They said that they supported people standing up to protest for their rights. This male student was very angry when he heard that the janitors were forced to take the test. Gonwoo thanked them and was recognized by some students as a newly famous YouTuber on YouTube. Mu-jin's team felt motivated when they saw that there were people supporting them. Mu-jin wished that things like this would be spread more widely. At this time, the team remembered that Gonwoo had a YouTube channel. They would take advantage of that to let more people know about this incident. So the team started to plan. Someone had to disguise themselves and break into the exam room, and the most suitable person was Mu-jin's mother. So on the day of the exam, Eun-ja got new glasses. Luckily, Jung-ha didn't notice this. The live broadcast also started to be recorded. The exam also started to be shown. One student commented that he couldn't even answer the difficult questions on the exam. Then those who couldn't do the test were called up and reprimanded. Mu-jin told Eun-ja to get closer to Jung-ha so that everyone could see his face clearly. Suddenly, someone noticed that the exam was being broadcast live. Jung-ha started to ask everyone who was using the phone to record. This action was cheating. Comments started to appear a lot. Some people even donated money. The school principal at that time also started to receive many calls. Callers came to ask him to stop this incident. The number of donations started to increase rapidly. Someone even donated 100,000 won to ask Gonwoo to come to the scene to film. So Gonwoo also went to the hall to live stream. After this incident, the number of subscribers to Gonwoo's channel increased continuously. Mi-ju was also shown the biggest cheating case in school history by her colleagues. When Gonwoo stood in front of Jung-ha for an interview, he asked why he made the janitors do difficult tests. The old janitors here would be fired sooner or later because of these tests. At this time, Jung-ha said that everyone volunteered to do these tests, but Hyunju said that this was a threat. Jung-ha couldn't argue back and demanded to work with the law. So Mu-jin had the opportunity to come forward and introduce himself. He said that he appeared here to protect the oppressed people. He started to come in front of Jung-ha. Mu-jin said that Jung-ha had also publicly revealed the points that constituted the crime of defamation. Then Jung-ha took advantage of his position to look down on the working people and even destroyed other people's property because that pop kit was not cheap. But Jung-ha was still conservative and said that people here had no right to speak up. Mu-jin's mother said that people here were all human beings, so they had the right to speak, to work, and to receive treatment according to the effort they put in. However, the manager here used every means to take away their rights. At this time, Eun-ja asked Jung-ha if he could answer the questions on the test. At this time, Jung-ha was confused and didn't know how to answer. Mu-jin's mother also asked about the school song to see if Jung-ha knew it. Jung-ha said that no one had ever cared about those stupid songs. At this time, Jong-gon started singing and stood up. Not only that, other janitors also knew this song. Coincidentally, this was also seen by a publisher. He was a former student of Hanwook University. He requested to work with the school's leadership immediately. The former students also quickly showed up at the school. They were all successful businessmen. They did not think that their school would treat treat its workers so unfairly. So they wanted the school to take immediate action because this incident not only tarnished the background of these businessmen but also insulted them. So the principal had no choice but to take all the blame on the school. He promised to resolve this matter. Finally, Mu-jin was able to get justice for his mother's friend. His mother was extremely grateful to him. Not only that, Mong-sum, who had been expelled, had also returned. Mu-jin said that Jong-suk could now rest in peace. He would take care of the dog in her place. Mu-jin saw her son talking to himself and felt worried. Suddenly, Jong-suk told Mu-jin a little secret. She said he would know when he got home. Meanwhile, in the workers' rest area, everyone celebrated Mong-sung's return to work. When Mu-jin got home, her mother was relieved because her friend had also been laid to rest. She tried calling the dog to eat, but it still lay still. At this time, Mu-jin remembered that Jong-suk had told him about the dog's real name that afternoon. After his mother heard it, she tried calling it. Unexpectedly, it actually ran towards her. Maybe it considered her its new owner. While Mu-jin was preparing to go out, Hyunju and Go-woo called him and told him to quickly come to the hospital because they were injured. But when Mu-jin just arrived at the hospital, he met Junjae there. Mu-jin asked why Junjae was here. Junjae didn't know why he was here either. He only knew that he was here when he woke up. Mu-jin looked in the mirror and realized that Junjae had turned into a spirit. After Mu-jin found out that Junjae was hospitalized, Mu-jin advised Junjae not to do anything rash because he could still live. The doctor then called Junjae's sister here. She told Mu-jin that someone from Jimo Mart had come earlier. She also received news from Junjae that he had found a new job, so she didn't have to worry anymore. Mu-jin asked her if she knew what Junjae was sick with. Mu-jin also wanted to find out why Junjae had a stroke at work. Junjae's sister was worried about the lawyer's fees, but Mu-jin took on the case for free because he really liked Junjae. After the consultation, Mu-jin went back to see Hyunju and Gon-woo. It turns out that these two people filmed a mukbang vlog together, but then they got food poisoning and were hospitalized. Now Mu-jin also told them about his situation. This time, the person he met was the spirit of the guy who worked at the convenience store. Gon-woo curiously asked if Mu-jin could not only see the souls of the dead, but also the wandering souls of the sick. Mu-jin didn't know either. Right now, Mu-jin couldn't even see where Junjae was. Gon-woo also started asking Mu-jin about Junjae's information. Then, they knew that he had fainted while working at a shopping mall, so the three of them started going there together. They asked their colleague Gon-sik, who was pushing a cart in the shopping mall warehouse. They wanted to know what the work situation was like there. Gon-sik revealed that the day before Junjae felt dizzy and had chest pain. It was hot here, and the workers didn't get proper breaks. According to the law, workers were supposed to get a 15-minute break after working an hour, but these workers said they only got a 15-minute break after working 3 hours. Furthermore, there was no air conditioning here. Gon-sik even lost 2 toenails while working. He was sharing with Mu-jin's group when the manager called him back. She told him to focus on his work. Mu-jin saw the manager and introduced himself. He asked if he could talk to her about Junjae. The manager couldn't refuse, so she led them into the room. As soon as Mu-jin entered the room, he noticed that the air in the room was very cool. It was a complete contrast to the harsh conditions outside the underground parking lot. Mu-jin found this quite contradictory. The company wanted to reduce costs, but they let the employees down here turn on the air conditioning at full capacity. The new manager said that the people working outside felt fine. They didn't feel angry or unfair at all. The manager thought that Junjae was the one who wasn't fit to work here. Mu-jin said that he was just the representative lawyer here. He didn't want to argue or debate about Junjae's working situation. Gon-sik was only ensuring Junjae's rights, so Mu-jin wanted to see the surveillance footage from 3 days ago. However, the manager said that this was a foreign company with a branch in Korea, so she didn't have the right to let others see the camera, so the three of them had to go back. Mu-jin told Hyunju and Gon-woo that even though this was a foreign company, since they were working in Korea, they had to follow Korean law. He also didn't forget to thank Gon-sik for sharing all the information here. Then Mu-jin gave Gon-sik his business card. Gon-sik also received news about Junjae's illness. Meanwhile, Junjae was wandering around. He went to see his nephew at the park. He had an older sister and a nephew named Ju-chan. They really loved each other. When Junjae saw his nephew, he immediately felt guilty because he couldn't give his nephew a piggy bank on his birthday. When Junjae returned to the hospital, he saw his sister and Mu-jin talking about his situation. Hearing that, he could only leave. Mu-jin saw that and hurriedly chased after Junjae. Mu-jin asked where Junjae had gone. Junjae didn't want to live anymore because he thought he had made his sister suffer. If he continued to live, his sister would have to pay for the hospital fees. Besides, his sister also had to shoulder the student loan. When Junjae got a new job, he imagined that his life would be better, but he realized that life had always treated him unfairly. So Junjae hoped Mu-jin wouldn't waste his time anymore. Junjae wanted to rest because he had worked all his life. Mu-jin saw Junjae's back gradually disappears. Junjae's physical condition continued to deteriorate and he needed urgent surgery. The older sister didn't know what to do. She could only cry for her poor, hard hard-working younger brother. The next day, Gonwoo emailed the company Junjae worked for, but he never received any response. Gonwoo told Moojin to try asking for advice from the Grim Reaper. But the Grim Reaper wasn't someone you could meet if you wanted to. But they believed that there was definitely a way to meet the Grim Reaper. So the three of them started trying to summon him. But this method didn't work either. At this time, Hunju and Gonwoo remembered the times Moojin stood frozen after an accident. So Hunju wanted to use electricity to kill Moojin. But because this method was too cruel, the two decided to hang him until he went to heaven to meet the Grim Reaper. Here, Moojin also asked for a way to save Junjae, because Junjae only knew how to avoid Moojin whenever he met him. The Grim Reaper thought that Junjae wanted to go somewhere, and he couldn't go too far. Then the Grim Reaper told Moojin not to come here anymore. Moojin could handle this without his help. Just like that, Moojin was sent back and woke up. Hyunju curiously asked Moojin if he had met the Grim Reaper. He stammered that he had. Hyunju was about to ask more questions when Gonwoo stopped him. At this time, Gon-sik also sent a message to Moojin. Gon-sik sent the number of steps he had walked in a day. He had just started working and had to walk up to 40 kilometers in 4 hours. Now, the whole team had more evidence of labor exploitation, so Gonwoo started applying for a trial job at this shopping mall. He worked so hard that he almost fainted. His heart rate increased, making Hyunju worried. Gon-sik also stopped by to greet Gonwoo and intended to give him a bottle of water, but Gon-sik refused to accept it because if he drank the water, he would have to go to the bathroom, and the bathroom was very far away. Moreover, today was a busy day at the mall, so Gon-sik did not dare to rest or drink water. In the 39-degree weather like this, Gon-sik was not allowed to drink water. This caused his heart rate to increase. This was proof that the treatment here was really not good. Gon-sik also tactfully reminded Hunju to stand far away before filming. While everyone was working, a driver crashed into a car of goods. He called Gonwoo over and made Gonwoo pay compensation. Luckily, Hunju was nearby filming. She also happened to film him acting like a fool, so she threatened him that if he continued to demand compensation, she would report the video to the police. He was so scared that he ran away. After a day of working and collecting information at the mall, Gonwoo successfully created a short video. The video was about a young man in his 20s who was exhausted while working. Although his heart rate continued to increase for a long time, he had to work in a hot environment for 3 hours. The video about labor exploitation was posted on Gonwoo's YouTube channel. Hunju saw Gonwoo leaning his head on Moojin's shoulder and felt a little jealous. She told the two to stop their intimate actions. After Go-woon posted a video about the dark corners of Junjae's workplace, the three of them thought they would get positive comments, but netizens said that the young man was complaining about just a little work. Gonwoo knew right away that it was a comment from the people at the company where Junjae worked. Moojin suddenly realized that Junjae had just had a medical examination, so Moojin went to see Junjae's sister to ask if he could go to Junjae's house to check, because he needed more evidence for this case. Moojin was looking for a medical examination certificate there, and he believed it would be useful. After the three of them found the address, they immediately went to Junjae's house. They saw that there were many different certificates in his house. After a while of searching, the whole team found Junjae's medical examination certificate. It showed that all of his indicators were normal before he started working at that shopping mall, so the whole team went home that night. They immediately thought about how to prove some more solid evidence. At this time, Hyunju suddenly called everyone over. She said that a gas station employee commented this person had once hired Junjae. He was very sad when he heard that Junjae was sick. The next day, the people from the shopping mall emailed Moojin's group because some netizens had found the company CEO's private account. They texted the CEO directly about this matter, and because the matter was so serious, the CEO agreed to provide the data recorded in the camera. They also agreed to compensate for the hospital fees. This was really good news. Moojin also hurriedly reported the good news to Junjae's sister. He told her not to worry about the hospital fees anymore. Junjae's sister's family also came to visit him. Juchan also hoped that Junjae would wake up soon and play with him. He then placed his favorite robot next to Junjae. As soon as they left, Junjae appeared again. This made Moojin wonder where he had been these past few days. Junjae told Moojin that he would only go where he needed to go. Junjae learns how to be a good uncle to Juchan. Moojin wishes he could beat Junjae to wake him up, because only when he wakes up can he become a good uncle. To help Junjae feel better, Moojin takes him out for some fresh air. In the car, Junjae curiously asks why Moojin had such a luxurious car when he didn't even have enough money to buy food before. Moojin tells Junjae that if you want money, you should become a labor lawyer like me. Moojin shares that he was actually once as stuck as Junjae. At that time, his life was very difficult and lacking. However, there will be light at the end of that road. After the car reaches the sea, Junjae is excited because he has never seen such a beautiful scene. Meanwhile, Gonwoo and Hyunju go to meet the gas station owner who recruited Junjae. In front of the camera, he expressed his opinion that a hardworking person like Junjae is not being criticized on social media. media, so he also had to stand up to protect some people who are being bullied like that. People who know nothing just leave nonsense comments on social media. While they were filming, there were some new comments, but this time the comments were more positive. The previous employers who hired Junjae all defended him. They said he was a hardworking person and treated his colleagues very well. Everyone felt sorry after hearing this news. Meanwhile, Junjae and Moojin were having fun on the beach. They were enjoying the moment that they had not had for a long time. Moojin said that there were many more beautiful scenes in this world than this, so Junjae had to wake up soon to enjoy them. Moojin still hadn't forgotten that he promised to take Junjae to eat chicken at the Han River, so Junjae had to wake up soon so that Moojin could fulfill his promise. Then Moojin asked Junjae to come work for him, but Junjae refused. On social media, there were more and more positive comments cheering for Junjae. When his sister saw this, she just hoped that he would wake up soon. And then the incident of Junjae's stroke was quickly reported on TV, and the person who reported this was Ganwoo's friend Jong Jin. Ganwoo watched the news and complimented his friend on how beautiful he was. This made Hunju, who was next to him, feel jealous. She made Ganwoo give her his hand and reminded him not to compliment other girls in front of her in the future. Ganwoo immediately asked Hunju for some tact. Suddenly, a celebrity with 10 million followers shared the video. The two excitedly hugged each other and were extremely happy. It was true that things were not too awkward for everyone this time. At the hospital, Junjae woke up. The next day, when Hyunju and Ganwoo were shopping to celebrate Junjae waking up, Hyunju seriously told Ganwoo to stop their relationship. Ganwoo thought he did something to make her angry. She didn't expect that she just wanted them to be lovers. On the first day of their relationship, Ganwoo wondered why Hyunju had decided that. Hyunju said that he had met the 5 conditions she had set for herself. The first was that he left his blue shirt at the hospital and successfully escaped. The second was his efforts when pushing the cart. The third was that he had good English pronunciation when contacting the CEO of the shopping mall. The fourth was that Ganwoo helped Junjae give a coin to his nephew. And the last was when Ganwoo talked sincerely to Minuk's mother. That happened a long time ago, but Hyunju was still touched, so Ganwoo hugged her. While everyone was celebrating Junjae's discharge from the hospital, Hyunju and Ganwoo openly announced their relationship. After the celebration, the 4 of them started cycling together. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared. Moojin recognized that person as the Grim Reaper, so Moojin shouted for the whole team to chase after that person. After Junjae's incident, Moojin's law office was very deserted. No one wanted to hire him. Suddenly, Moojin's old lawyer friend from the hospital called, and he had to go to the hospital because his friend had just had an accident. This friend introduced Moojin to everyone as a labor lawyer. A moment later, Moojin pushed his friend outside to get some air. He pushed him while complaining that his friend had drunk so much that he had an accident. Moojin could only advise his friend to stop drinking. When Moojin had just left the hospital, he suddenly saw a group of workers screaming and going into the hospital. It seemed like they had just escaped from some fire. Moojin knew at a glance that these were the people he had to help next. Back in time, these workers were workers at a warehouse workshop. Among them, there was a worker who looked quite young. He seemed to be a newcomer here. Everyone advised him to work hard here because the salary was quite high. Suddenly, a little smoke burst out outside the door, which attracted the young man's attention. The others saw that he was distracted and started to pay attention to the smoke, but by this time, the fire had already started to spread. Outside, other workers also started to see smoke. They quickly ran to inform the factory manager. He quickly sent people there to put out the fire. The workshop was not equipped with specialized firefighting equipment. Besides, this place was not even insulated, so the fire spread very quickly. Moreover, the fire extinguisher was not usable because it was too old. While one person was using the fire extinguisher, it exploded. The accident caused him to die instantly in front of everyone. The manager was so scared that he told everyone to try to put out the fire while he drove away. The people inside couldn't get out, so they suffocated to death. While Hyunju and Ganwoo were having lunch at home, Moojin called everyone inside. The other two wondered if there was a ghost here, but it wasn't just one ghost that came inside, but a whole group. The TV also reported on the recent factory fire. According to the information Moojin found out, no one was allowed to bring their phones to work, so no one was able to call the fire department in time. Everyone in the office was upset. They started blaming Manager Choi. At this time, Ganwoo Ok knew that there had been a few similar fires a few years ago. The factories did not have fire protection equipment to reduce costs. This caused the fire to spread quickly and many people died. Then they took the insurance money for the damage and the warehouse burned down. According to Ganwoo's investigation, these cases were rarely cleared. But Moojin assured everyone here that those who caused the consequences would definitely be punished. As for the Myeongum Construction Company, this was the company that managed the warehouse. The board of directors here had planned to kill and arrest Manager Choi. Even though Manager Choi had worked at the factory for 20 years, the director still did not trust him very much. So the director wanted to kill him to eliminate future troubles. Manager Choi also did not know how to handle this case. The police could only advise him to go home and prepare himself to deal with civil lawsuits. But when Manager Choi just left the police station, he was caught by the construction company and put in a car. They only accepted money to kill him. Manager Choi said he was in danger. He did not let it go, but deliberately caused trouble and used every trick to get home. After a while of struggling, he was able to open the car door and roll out. Manager Choi then successfully escaped from arrest. Meanwhile, the workers who were burned to death stayed in Moo Jin's office. They were curious as to why they could not leave this place. Some people said that ghosts are often attracted to people who can resolve their grievances, but this labor lawyer did not seem very trustworthy. Moo Jin was taking a nap when he felt a headache, so he got up. Moo Jin asked them why they were staying there. One person said he tried to leave, but he was still blown back here. Hyunju and Gonwoo also came to the office at this time. They showed Moo Jin the video from last night. There were two people who had captured a man as he was leaving the police station. The street also recorded the scene of the man trying to escape from the car. The ghosts looked at it and recognized that the person who was captured was Manager Choi. He left them to burn to death. The director of the construction company was scolding his subordinates. He was extremely angry that they had let Manager Choi escape. Moo Jin and the two people began to deduce that it was possible that Manager Choi was arrested to frame him for not performing his fire safety duties. Then, the construction company would hire someone new and open a new company, and then they would continue doing the same thing as before. Manager Choi currently did not dare to go home to his wife and children. He was afraid that he would implicate his family, so he could only run away everywhere. When Manager Choi called his wife, she only advised him to surrender to the police. But how could Manager Choi surrender? Meanwhile, Gonwoo had already made a video denouncing the transportation company, Bugu. This was the company that Manager Choi was in charge of. The video had a lot of views, making him excited. But Hyunju thought that this case would not be easy because there was a possibility that Gonwoo would be sued for posting false information. But Gonwoo just wanted to expose the truth. Reporter Park also texted to inform that there was a joint memorial service for the victims of the fire. So the three of them quickly went to the funeral. They wanted to prevent any settlements with the victims' families. The three of them thought everything would go smoothly, but as soon as they entered, they were stopped by John Soo. He was angry because he thought Moo Jin's group was there for money. Hyunju couldn't stand the baseless insults. She loudly said that they came here to help the victims find justice. They wanted to solve this case for free, but John Soo said they came for money. Hyunju and John Soo almost got into a fight. At this time, a man stood up and told Moo Jin that the victims' relatives could not accept the death of the main worker in the house. They were burned in the fire for several days, and in the end, they were stored in the refrigerator. So no one wanted someone to come here to meditate. However, Moo Jin and Hyunju still wanted to find a solution to this case. Suddenly, Gonwoo received a call from Manager Choi. He wanted to meet Gonwoo. After the three of them got in the car, Gonwoo informed Moo Jin that Manager Choi had proactively contacted him. Manager Choi said he had something important to say. This made the dead workers very curious. Moo Jin told Gonwoo to let him handle this case, because if there was any danger, he wouldn't die. After Moo Jin went to the meeting place with Manager Choi, the group of people who were burned to death also followed him. They asked him if he was going to betray them. These people heard that Moo Jin was going to meet Manager Choi, so everyone wanted to possess Moo Jin to beat him up. While Moo Jin was struggling, Manager Choi also arrived. These people saw this and were angry and wanted to vent their anger on him. The smoke and dust began to obscure, making Moo Jin wonder why they could do that. The ground began to crack. Manager Choi was so scared that he ran away, but he couldn't run far until everyone's anger reached its peak. The tornado caused Manager Choi to fall to the ground and pass out. At this moment, everyone suddenly felt guilty because they had hurt others. They also did not know why they could create a tornado to punish the bad guys. But what they did was not what Moo Jin wanted, because revenge would not have a good ending. Manager Choi, after waking up, immediately begged Moo Jin to help him make amends with the unfortunate workers. Moo Jin said that those people were here. The only thing he needed to do was to sincerely apologize to everyone. The workers did not want Manager Choi to just apologize, but when they saw him kneeling in front of them, they softened because he really wanted to be forgiven. Manager Choi apologized to everyone for being so cowardly and running away. A leader like him should not have done that. He would not blame himself for following orders. Manager Choi knew that it was too late for him to apologize now. He thought that he did not deserve forgiveness and that he should have been the one to die. Everyone was moved by the sincere apology. Moo Jin asked Manager Choi if there was anything else important he wanted to tell. So he stood in front of the camera and admitted all the shortcomings of that company. He told all the hidden sins of the leader there. Manager Choi did not forget to reveal to Moo Jin that in his refrigerator in that office, there was hidden all the evidence and recordings of what had happened over the past 20 years. Manager Choi hoped that Mu Jin could clear up this case and bring justice to the dead. Suddenly, a group of hunters came chasing after him outside. Manager Choi was scared and told Mu Jin to remember that USB, and the two of them started to split up and escape. At home, Hyunju and Gonwoo wondered where Mu Jin had gone, so they decided to go to the address that Gonwoo had texted Manager Choi. However, when the two arrived, they did not see Mu Jin or Manager Choi, so they went to the police station to report case, but the police could not help them. After Hyunju and Gonwoo returned, they felt very worried because there was no news about the warehouse fire. They did not know if something had happened to Mu Jin or not. Suddenly, the news showed that Manager Choi had been arrested last night. Surprisingly, the person walking next to him was Mu Jin. So Mu Jin was taken to the police station for questioning. Mu Jin said that he was just a YouTuber filming a video, and this false statement helped him get released. After Mu Jin left the police station, he opened his phone and saw that Hyunju had called him many times. Hyunju asked Mu Jin if he had found any clues from Manager Choi. Mu Jin said that he had recorded it last night. The real owner of Buguk Transportation Company is Myeongum Construction Company. The documents related to the company were stored by Manager Choi on a USB, and it was placed in the refrigerator in the office. Gonwoo asked Mu Jin where he was so he could pick him up, but at this time, Mu Jin was immediately caught in a car by a group of strangers, and his phone fell on the street. Gonwoo thought that Mu Jin was not in any danger, but Mu Jin was locked in a basement by Myeongum's men. At night, Hyunju and Gonwoo only received news from the police that they picked up Mu Jin's phone on the street. Hyunju had to redeem it. She also didn't know where he was now, but the important thing now was to find the USB. After Mu Jin woke up, the news was broadcasting about the families of the victims who died in the fire. At this time, the dead workers were very angry because on TV were their family members whom they had cut off ties with for a long time, but now they had returned to receive the inheritance money. The dead workers did not know if Mu Jin had been eliminated or not. They were afraid that the others would eliminate Mu Jin to cover up the evidence. A while later, the thugs returned. The leader came to Mu Jin and asked if he had remembered anything. He thought that Mu Jin and Manager Choi had a reason for meeting. Mu Jin did not answer, but only provoked him. So Mu Jin was punched several times by the leader. Because he was too strong, Mu Jin fainted. Manager Choi was now in front of the prosecutor. He asked prosecutor if Kim Myeong-an of Myeongum Construction Company was the real owner of Buguk. Would that change anything? The prosecutor assured Manager Choi that this case would be suspended and would be reinvestigated. The responsibility will be shifted to Myeongum, and there will be a more thorough investigation into the fire this time. The law may also be amended. Manager Choi suddenly revealed that he had a recording that was evidence that he had retired but was given money to manage the factory. There was a USB in the refrigerator in his room. It contained evidence of what he said. After the prosecutor collected all the information, he revealed his true nature. The lawyer said that now Manager Choi could go to jail for a few years and he could not touch Chairman Kim's people. It turned out that this prosecutor was Myeongum's man. He came here to get information about the things Manager Choi still had. On this side, Mu Jin woke up. The gangsters tried to lure him with food, but Mu Jin didn't care. This made the subordinate angry and threw the chopsticks and dumplings on the ground. He then continued to sit at the dining table without knowing that his chopsticks would accidentally help Mu Jin escape. While the thugs were singing karaoke, Mu Jin held the chopsticks and slowly sawed the rope that was tying him to escape. When the thugs received orders to find the USB in Manager Choi's office, Mu Jin had also escaped. Because he was a bit hungry, he had to eat fried dumplings first. Meanwhile, at Myeongum Construction Company, Myeong-an was angry when he knew that the lawyers he hired were too useless. Even though he had spent a lot of money, the lawyers could not solve the problem. At this time, someone nominated Myeong-an. There was a way to expand a network that was beneficial to the company, which was to take advantage of the association with Congressman Moon. She specialized in promoting policies that were beneficial to businesses to please the CEO. As long as Myeong-an cooperates with her, he can prevent any threat. So, Myeong-an immediately makes an appointment with Congressman Moon to come here to negotiate with him. At night, Gonwoo and Hyunju arrive at Buguk Construction Company. They break in and start looking for Manager Choi's office. When the two of them arrive at his room, they break in and lock the door. Then they go looking for the refrigerator that Manager Choi mentioned. But there are a lot of things inside. They search for a while but can't find the USB. Hyunju suspects that someone took it first. But when Gonwoo opens the chili sauce box, he finds it inside. But the gangsters have also arrived. Hyunju and Gonwoo see this and immediately run out. Suddenly, Hyunju suddenly stops and throws things at the other people. After throwing, she tries to jump down through the window. Gonwoo tells her to jump and he catches her, but in the end, she falls herself. She threw Gonwoo into the grass. Then Hyungu pinned the gangster's head and the two quickly returned to the car. They escaped without knowing that the USB had fallen out. The thugs picked it up and laughed happily. Gonwoo wondered why they were so happy. Only then did Hyunju realize that the USB she was holding had fallen. In the office, Mu-jin was calling his phone when he realized that Hyunju and Gon-woo were holding it. They saw that he was injured, so they worriedly asked. But Mu-jin didn't want to tell and hid the story of his kidnapping. He asked the two if they had found the USB. Only then did Gon-woo recount what had happened. After a while of searching, they let the USB fall into the hands of the thugs. At this time, Mu-jin also told the story of how he was kidnapped by those thugs. Hearing that, the other two wondered why he was able to escape. However, Mu-jin was very tired, so he didn't answer and told the two to go rest first. After returning home, Mu-jin was like a lost soul. He didn't want to talk to anyone. While eating breakfast, he heard the news on TV that manager Choi had died. This made Mu-jin not know what to do now. Gon-woo and Hyunju also knew the news. Now how could they seek justice? The witness was dead, and the evidence was lost. Mu-jin seemed to have lost his fighting spirit. He just wanted to go to sleep and forget everything. He just lay on the sofa for a long time. Gon-woo called, but Mu-jin didn't answer. Suddenly, he got up. Maybe he had decided to do something. First, Mu-jin went to manager Choi's funeral to pay his condolences. Then Mu-jin went to sit next to manager Choi's son. Mu-jin promised to buy the boy a game console because this was manager Choi's last wish before he was captured. The current workers also felt guilty. At first, they just wanted an apology, but they didn't expect things to turn out like this. At least they felt respected, but the one who should be punished was living comfortably. However, someone discovered that the thugs were outside. Everyone didn't know what they were going to do here. Mu-jin was curious and asked what was going on. It turned out that the thugs wanted to meet Congresswoman Moon Jong-yoon. That same night, Mu-jin looked up information about her. According to information on the internet, Congresswoman Moon was someone who tended to do everything that was beneficial to the company. But what she did was not beneficial to the workers. If the CEO of Myeongum met her and got the fund, then every time there were more victims who died unjustly, no one would be able to do anything to them. The workers were angry when they heard this. Mu-jin realized that there was still a way to do it. However, this could not involve Hyunju and Gon-woo. When Mu-jin returned to the office, the two people saw him wearing a suit and curiously asked if he was visiting manager Choi. Mu-jin told them to drop the matter. He didn't want to expose the truth anymore, so they just had to pretend like nothing happened. Gon-woo and Hyunju wondered why Mu-jin was so cowardly. Was he bribed by the Myeongum company? Mu-jin admitted that he had received bribes. This made the other two a bit surprised and disappointed. Mu-jin said he couldn't do an unpaid job for the rest of his life. Hyunju was angry and left. Gon-woo was equally disappointed. But this was what Mu-jin had to do. Since this matter was very dangerous, he didn't want the two of them to get involved. This would require the help of the spirits here. During the negotiation and signing ceremony between Myeong-an and Congressman Moon, Mu-jin came to Myeongum company to prepare for the final battle. What he wanted to use in this battle was to take advantage of the workers' power. Mu-jin tried to make everyone angry. He wanted to see if their power would explode like before. Even though they tried, no extraordinary power was created. So Mu-jin remembered that everyone needed to face the enemy, then their power would explode. So Mu-jin decided to influence their psychology. Mu-jin said that every year, more than 800 people died from work-related accidents like these workers. However, no one spoke up because of this great loss. The companies continued to disregard the labor safety laws, and the workers only knew how to endure injustice and work. It was because of this cowardice that these workers died unjustly. If they continue like this, more workers will die from work accidents. These words awakened the dead workers. They started to go crazy, causing the heavens and earth to shake. This was exactly what Mu-jin wanted. While Myeong-an and Congressman Moon were negotiating the cooperation, Mu-jin brought the souls of the dead workers. Mu-jin arrived and declared that he was a god and that he would drag everyone here to hell. The others thought Mu-jin was acting, but he immediately used his shaking power. Mu-jin began to tell the sins that Kim Myong-an had committed. Mu-jin forced Myeong-an to admit that he was the one who started the fire at Bugut Transport. That fire took 8 innocent lives. Myeong-an then used money to force the desperate relatives of the victims to agree to settle the case. Furthermore, he colluded with politicians to protect his own interests and protect himself. One person tried to rush forward to stop Mu-jin, but Mu-jin tied him to the wall with vines. Mu-jin loudly asked Kim Myong-an if he wanted to go to jail or hell. Congressman Moon was scared and screamed non-stop. Mu-jin had to use his magic to threaten these people. This forced Kim Myong-an to admit all his crimes. Mu-jin had already recorded the video and broadcast it live. When someone tried to take Mu-jin's phone to delete the video, Mu-jin said that even if he deleted the video, it would be useless, because many people watching live stream already knew all the crimes of Myeongum company. But at this time, Kim Myong-an was still fearless. He even challenged Mu-jin to drag out the souls of the dead workers. As soon as he finished speaking, the ground shook again, and the glass doors began to crack. When Mu-jin saw that these people were scared and wanted to surrender, he told the workers to stop. But they didn't do anything. An earthquake really happened. Hyunju and Gon-woo rushed in, and the room collapsed. After Mu-jin woke up, he wondered why the two were here. Gon-woo had secretly installed a GPS tracker on Mu Jin since Mu Jin was kidnapped. The house was gradually collapsing from the outside. The others were scared and ran into the elevator, but it collapsed immediately. This made Kim Myung-an wonder why this newly built building collapsed so easily. Congresswoman Moon inside called for help. She hoped that everyone could save her. Kim Myung-an's people tried to save her but failed. He could only stand outside and give orders. One person blamed Mu Jin for the building collapsing. Mu Jin asked, wasn't it because they used bad construction materials to build the building? The two sides kept arguing back and forth. When Congresswoman Moon screamed, they finally stopped. Saving people was much more important now. So Mu Jin grabbed the metal rod by the door. He used it to push the brick that was pinning Congresswoman Moon's leg. After everyone tried their best, they were finally able to pull her leg out. Fortunately, her leg was only slightly injured. At that moment, Kim Myung-an was still blaming Mu Jin for causing the building to collapse. Gon-woo told Myung-an that he only knew how to squeeze the workers and cut costs, which was why the building was so unstable and easy to collapse. As Mu Jin finished speaking, the building started shaking again. A subordinate told Myung-an to go up to the rooftop because there was a helicopter landing pad up there. So everyone started rushing up. Congresswoman Moon, terrified, clung to Gon-woo and asked him to help her run. So they all ran to the rooftop together. While walking, Hee-ju said that it was Congresswoman Moon who came here and approved of all of Myung-an's wrongdoings. It seemed she didn't know she was being deceived by him. When everyone reached the rooftop, Congresswoman Moon asked Myung-an how badly he had built the building for it to be about to collapse right when it was about to open. While the two were arguing, a subordinate came to Myung-an with bad news. The rescue team couldn't send a helicopter because the building hadn't been registered due to failing safety standards. Congresswoman Moon also wanted to call the rescue team, but her call was blocked because the rescue team couldn't go against orders. At that moment, the ground started cracking again, and everyone had no choice but to run down the stairs. However, there was a big fire and smoke below, so they had no choice but to return to where they were. Now Myung-an was being harmed by the very building he had built. He could only urge his subordinates to quickly come up with a solution. At that moment, two workers ran in and said that the fire alarm system had also been turned off, just because the contractor wanted to speed up construction. These incidents happened because Myung-an had forced the workers to work even on rainy days. This caused the cement to not dry in time, which led to a pillar of the building being damaged. But Myung-an's subordinates still blamed the workers for doing a bad job. Just as the two sides were about to fight, smoke started pouring out from the elevator. Everyone tried to use towels and clothes to cover the elevator. Then they turned to criticize Myung-an, saying it was because he had embezzled too much money that everyone was now in such a dangerous situation. At this point, Mu Jin turned to ask the two workers if there was any escape route, but they said there was none. Congresswoman Moon also began to complain. She said that as long as she got out of here, she would tighten labor safety laws. Not only that, she would strictly punish those who violated them. At that moment, the building began to tilt and the ground cracked open, causing one of the workers to fall. The man tried to grab Myung-an's hand, but instead of pulling him up, Myung-an kicked him down. He turned to ask Mu Jin if he was a labor lawyer. Then he said he would compensate the victim's family with 300 million won. Everyone was furious to see how little he valued human life, but Myung-an thought to himself that he was someone useful to the country. If he died, the country would lose a talented person. Now everyone could truly see his nature. The friend of the worker who had just fallen wanted to rush up and take revenge, but Mu Jin stopped him because revenge wasn't the only way. The worker said he wanted Myung-an to go to hell, but Myung-an stepped forward and shouted, "Why should I go there?" As soon as Myung-an finished speaking, the ground beneath him shook and cracked open. Mu Jin didn't know why, but he held on to Myung-an. As a result, the two of them fell into hell together. However, because Mu Jin was familiar with the Grim Reaper, both of them were taken to the place Mu Jin often visited whenever he was about to die. Myung-an still blamed Mu Jin, even though Mu Jin had just tried to save him. Myung-an accused Mu Jin of hypnotizing him. Suddenly, the surroundings turned red and vengeful spirits appeared as if they wanted to drag him down to hell. This made him terrified and begged for forgiveness. Suddenly, a voice echoed. Someone asked Myung-an what he would do if he could live. Mu Jin told him to just answer with anything, or else he would die here and fall into hell. Seeing the ghosts around him, finally, Myung-an said he would do anything. Upon hearing that, the workers who died in the fire at the transport company appeared, along with the Grim Reaper. Mu Jin explained that these were the people from the fire that day. They were all Myung-an's people. The Grim Reaper took out a contract that wasn't written in Korean. Mu Jin looked at it, pretended to read it over, and told Myung-an to sign it, saying the terms were all in his favor. His task was to investigate and compensate for every accident within 108 days. Hearing that, Myung-an's attitude changed because he didn't want to waste money. So the Grim Reaper reduced the time to only 49 days for Myung-an to atone, or else he would be sent to hell. Out of fear of going to hell, he reluctantly stamped the contract. If he broke the contract, he would be sent to hell immediately, so Myung-an agreed and nodded repeatedly. Right after that, time went back to the moment when Mu-jin had just returned and Myung-an agreed to do anything. It turned out that what just happened was a glimpse of the future shown by the Grim Reaper. Myung-an realized that the building was dangerous, so he immediately told everyone to leave before everything collapsed. He even gave up his place to the two workers from earlier. Myung-an had become a better person. Back at home, his subordinates asked him if they really had to cancel the inauguration ceremony and repair the entire building. That would cost a lot of money. Hearing that, Myung-an intended to go against the Grim Reaper's words, but right at that moment, the light bulb above his head suddenly exploded, and there was blood on his hand, just like when he signed the contract. At that point, he no longer dared to defy the Grim Reaper. So after Mu-jin received the news that Myung-an would make things right, Mu-jin informed everyone that they just needed to wait for Myung-an to fulfill his promise. From this incident, Congresswoman Moon began to speak up about tightening laws on labor accident violations. She wanted to work with everyone to find solutions and strategies. As for Myung-an, he had also changed. He took charge of rechecking all constructions that lacked safety measures. Myung-an publicly announced to the media that he would be responsible for this so that everyone could feel at ease. Mu-jin also appeared in the news and became famous after this incident. In the future, many people will come to hire him. The workers who had died also saw the news. They felt happy because their deaths were not in vain thanks to them. Others would be less likely to die unjustly, so everyone felt at peace. However, the unfortunate workers still had one last wish. They asked Mu-jin to take them to see their families. Just once, to see their loved ones before leaving this world. Mu-jin agreed, and so the workers got to see their families one last time. After everything was over, Mu-jin unexpectedly received a phone call from Mi-ju. She told him to go back to his parents' house because everyone was already waiting for him there. When Mu-jin arrived home, Seon-kyu appeared. Seon-kyu complimented Mu-jin, saying he looked handsome, then went into the house. Seeing that, Mu-jin also ran after his older brother. He saw his wife in the kitchen cooking. This scene made Mu-jin feel like everyone seemed happier than usual today. It turned out his mother was smiling because Mi-ju had decided to come back. When Mu-jin heard that, he tried to act calm, but inside he was very happy. He didn't expect that today was Seon-kyu's death anniversary day. Seon-kyu had passed away some time ago in a construction site accident. That company didn't take responsibility and even sent a funeral wreath. This made Mu-jin furious. During the meal, Mu-jin's mother said she no longer saw her son in her dreams. Seon-kyu, sitting nearby, told Mu-jin that he was doing fine. It turned out Seon-kyu had already passed away long ago. Mu-jin could see his ghost, so he thought Seon-kyu was still by his side. Seeing his older brother, Mu-jin shed tears. He didn't realize how precious a day with family could be. After the meal, Mu-jin thanked Mi-ju for coming. Seon-kyu appeared again after Mu-jin's wife had gone home. Seon-kyu asked Mu-jin if you knew what I regretted the most, and it was not being able to say words of love to the one I love. After saying that, he disappeared. The next day, when Mu-jin arrived at the office, he suddenly received good news. His expression made Hunju and Gon-woo very curious. It turned out the stock he had bought before had increased by 730%. The two of them told him to sell the stock and take the money. Mu-jin thought that made sense, so he listened to them. They advised him to use that money to make up with Mi-ju. Hyunju and Gon-woo wanted to help Mu-jin get back with his wife, so they went to Hunju's house and acted intimately to make Mi-ju feel lonely. Mi-ju wanted to send Gon-woo home, but since it was Hyunju's house, she could only helplessly take the dog outside. So while Mi-ju was walking the dog, Mu-jin suddenly appeared and said he came to pick both the dog and her up, but Mi-ju was still upset and said she didn't want to go home with him. At that moment, Mu-jin took out his salary card and said he had put almost all of his retirement money into it. He did that to make up for his past mistakes with her. Mu-jin promised he would no longer make his wife feel lonely. From now on, whatever he did, he would discuss it with her first. In the end, Mi-ju agreed to reconcile with Mu-jin. However, there was one last thing Mu-jin wanted to do, which was to find the god who had given him the chance to start his life over. That was the entire content of the film. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.